Canada, a land that has long been synonymous with natural beauty and vast, unspoiled landscapes. The very name evokes images of snow-capped mountains, pristine lakes, and vast, open spaces. These breathtaking vistas have been the backdrop to countless dreams and aspirations. It is a country long celebrated for its welcoming spirit, multiculturalism, and promise of a better life. A place where diversity is not just accepted, but embraced, and where people from all walks of life come together to create a vibrant mosaic of cultures. For generations, immigrants have flocked to Canada, drawn by the allure of opportunity and the prospect of building a brighter future for themselves and their families. They arrive with hopes and dreams, eager to contribute to the fabric of this great nation. Canada has always prided itself on being a land of opportunity, a beacon of hope for those seeking a fresh start. Its cities and towns have been places where hard work and determination can lead to success and prosperity. Its reputation as a safe and inclusive society has beckoned individuals and families from all corners of the globe. The promise of a better life, free from conflict and strife, has been a powerful draw. But behind this idyllic facade lies a harsh reality for many, particularly for those at the margins of society. The glittering promise of prosperity is not equally shared, and many find themselves struggling to make ends meet. The Canada of today is grappling with a different narrative, a narrative of a housing crisis and a soaring cost of living. The dream of a comfortable life is becoming increasingly difficult to attain. This crisis is casting a shadow over the Canadian dream, making it increasingly elusive for many. Families who once saw Canada as a land of endless possibilities now face the stark reality of financial hardship. What was once the land of opportunity is now, for many, a place of struggle and uncertainty. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening, and the safety net that once supported the vulnerable is fraying. The dream of owning a home, once a cornerstone of the Canadian identity, is slipping further out of reach for many. The rising cost of living and the scarcity of affordable housing are turning the Canadian dream into a distant memory for countless families. At the heart of Canada's current crisis lies the issue of affordable housing. The dream of homeownership, once a cornerstone of the Canadian identity, is becoming increasingly elusive. Skyrocketing housing prices coupled with stagnant wages have created a perfect storm, leaving many Canadians struggling to keep a roof over their heads. The numbers paint a stark picture. According to recent reports, the average home price in Canada has surged to unprecedented levels. Cities like Toronto and Vancouver have become virtually unattainable for many, with average home prices soaring well beyond the reach of average earners. This crisis is not confined to major urban centers. It has spread its tentacles across the country. Smaller cities and towns, once considered affordable alternatives, are now experiencing similar pressures, leaving Canadians everywhere feeling the squeeze. The housing crisis is not just about putting a roof over one's head, it's about the crushing weight it places on every aspect of life. The rising cost of living, fueled by exorbitant housing costs, is pushing many Canadians to the brink. Basic necessities like food, transportation, and childcare have become increasingly expensive, forcing families to make difficult choices. Many are forced to cut back on essential expenses, sacrificing their health and well-being to make ends meet. The constant struggle to make ends meet takes a toll on mental and physical health. The stress of living paycheck to paycheck, constantly worrying about how to pay the bills, creates an environment of anxiety and despair. For immigrant women, the challenges of navigating Canada's housing crisis are amplified. Many arrive in Canada with hopes and dreams, ready to contribute to their new home. However, they often face systemic barriers that make it difficult to find safe and affordable housing. Language barriers, lack of Canadian work experience, and discrimination based on gender and immigration status create significant obstacles. Many immigrant women find themselves relegated to precarious employment, often in low-wage jobs with limited job security. This precariousness makes it even harder to secure affordable housing. Landlords often discriminate against newcomers, requiring extensive credit histories and references that many immigrant women simply do not have. The lack of affordable housing options forces many immigrant women and their families into overcrowded and unsafe living conditions. They may end up sharing cramped apartments with multiple families, sacrificing their privacy and dignity. Children growing up in such environments face their own set of challenges. Overcrowding can have a detrimental impact on their physical and mental well-being, affecting their education and future prospects. the cycle of poverty becomes difficult to break. Without access to safe and affordable housing, immigrant women and their families often struggle to improve their circumstances, perpetuating a cycle that can span generations. Section 6. Systemic barriers, exposing the cracks in the foundation. Canada's housing crisis is not simply a matter of supply and demand, it is deeply intertwined with systemic issues that perpetuate inequality. The disparity between affluent neighborhoods and underfunded areas is stark, highlighting the uneven distribution of resources and opportunities. Discrimination based on race, gender, and immigration status plays a significant role in who has access to safe and affordable housing. These systemic barriers create a cycle of exclusion, making it difficult for marginalized groups to break free from poverty and secure stable living conditions. The legacy of colonialism continues to affect Indigenous communities, who face disproportionately high rates of homelessness and inadequate housing conditions. Historical injustices have left a lasting impact, resulting in a severe lack of investment in Indigenous housing infrastructure. Systemic racism and discrimination within the housing market make it challenging for racialized communities to find suitable housing options. These communities often encounter biased practices from landlords and real estate agents, further limiting their choices. The lack of affordable childcare options further exacerbates the challenges faced by women, particularly single mothers. Balancing work and family responsibilities becomes an almost insurmountable task without adequate support systems in place. Without access to affordable childcare, many women are forced to choose between working to afford housing and staying home to care for their children. This difficult choice often leads to financial instability and perpetuates the cycle of poverty, making it even harder to secure a better future. Section 7. A glimmer of hope, potential solutions. Addressing Canada's housing crisis requires a multifaceted approach, one that tackles the root causes of the problem. Increasing the supply of affordable housing is crucial. This can be achieved through government investment in social housing, incentivizing developers to build affordable units, and exploring innovative housing models like cooperative housing. Expanding access to affordable childcare is essential to support women in the workforce and break the cycle of poverty. Investing in early childhood education not only benefits children, but also allows parents, particularly mothers, to participate fully in the economy. Addressing systemic barriers is paramount. This includes implementing stronger anti-discrimination policies in the housing market, providing targeted support for marginalized communities, and working towards reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Section 8. A collective responsibility, a call to action. The housing crisis in Canada is not just a matter of numbers and statistics, it's about real people, real families struggling to make ends meet. It's about the stress and anxiety that comes with not knowing if you'll be able to pay next month's rent, or if you'll have to choose between groceries and keeping a roof over your head. It's about the single mother working 2 jobs to keep a roof over her children's heads, sacrificing her own well-being to ensure her kids have a place to sleep at night. The senior citizen forced to choose between medication and rent, living in constant fear of eviction and homelessness. The newcomer struggling to find a place to call home in a new country, facing barriers of language, culture, and financial constraints. It's a crisis that demands our attention, our empathy, and our action. We must come together as a community to support those in need and advocate for change. It's time for a national conversation about housing affordability, one that includes diverse voices and perspectives, ensuring that no one is left out of the dialogue. A conversation that includes all levels of government, the private sector, and civil society. We need collaborative efforts to create sustainable solutions. We must demand better from our elected officials, holding them accountable for their promises and pushing for immediate action, advocating for policies that prioritize affordable housing, support low-income earners, and address systemic inequalities. These policies should be designed to uplift the most vulnerable among us. We must hold landlords accountable for discriminatory practices, ensuring that everyone has fair access to housing, regardless of their background, and work towards creating a more just and equitable housing system. Together, we can build a future where everyone has a safe, affordable place to call home. Section 9, Towards a More Equitable Future. Canada has a rich history of welcoming newcomers and providing opportunities for all. But the current housing crisis threatens to erode this legacy, leaving many struggling to achieve the Canadian dream. It's time to reclaim the promise of Canada, a promise of a just society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, regardless of their background or circumstances. By acknowledging the systemic issues at play, by listening to the stories of those most affected, and by working together to find solutions, we can create a Canada where everyone has a place to call home. The time for action is now. The future of Canada depends on it.